For most of human existence, our ancestors lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers, moving across vast landscapes in search of food, water, and safety. They followed migrating animals, seasonal fruits, and shifting climates, forming small groups that depended heavily on cooperation. Life was deeply connected to nature, and survival required a detailed understanding of the environment. These early humans left minimal impact on the land, using natural resources carefully and moving frequently to avoid depletion. Anatomically and intellectually, these early humans were almost identical to modern humans. They possessed complex language, emotional depth, and advanced problem-solving abilities. Archaeological evidence shows they created art, tools, and symbolic objects, proving their creative and cognitive capabilities. Their lives were not primitive in intelligence, but rather sophisticated in adaptation and survival skills, shaped by their environment. Hunter-gatherer societies relied on an immediate return economy, meaning food was consumed soon after it was collected or hunted. Because they lacked effective food preservation techniques, they could not accumulate large food reserves. This prevented the formation of wealth inequality, as resources were shared among group members. Cooperation and sharing became essential social rules that maintained group harmony. Social structures within these groups were generally egalitarian. Leadership existed but was often temporary and based on experience rather than authority. If conflicts arose or individuals attempted to dominate others, members could simply leave and join another group. This mobility prevented rigid hierarchies and allowed individuals a high level of personal freedom compared to later civilizations. Hunter-gatherer groups required vast territories to survive, often covering hundreds of square miles. They carefully observed animal behaviors, plant growth cycles, and environmental patterns. Knowledge was passed down orally across generations, forming early traditions and survival teachings. This deep ecological knowledge allowed humans to thrive without drastically altering ecosystems. During the Pleistocene epoch, global climates were unstable, with ice ages dominating much of the planet. Glaciers advanced and retreated, creating unpredictable environmental conditions. These harsh and shifting climates made permanent settlements extremely difficult. Human populations remained relatively small because survival depended on available wild resources and changing habitats. Around 12,000 years ago, a major climatic shift occurred at the end of the last ice age. Temperatures became warmer and more stable, allowing plants and animals to flourish in new ways. Certain human groups began experimenting with planting seeds and domesticating animals. This gradual transition marked the beginning of agriculture, one of the most transformative developments in human history. The agricultural revolution allowed humans to produce food rather than solely gather it from the wild. Farming encouraged people to settle near fertile land and water sources. Permanent villages began forming as communities invested time and labor into growing crops. Over time, these villages expanded into towns and eventually early cities. Farming increased food production, but also introduced new challenges. Diets became less varied, relying heavily on staple crops such as wheat, rice, or maize. Archaeological evidence suggests that early farmers experienced poorer health, shorter height, and increased disease compared to hunter-gatherers. Close living conditions also encouraged the spread of infections and epidemics. Agriculture enabled the storage of surplus food, which transformed social organization. For the first time, individuals could accumulate wealth and control resources. This led to the emergence of social classes, specialized occupations, and structured political systems. Rulers, priests, and elites gained power by controlling land, food, supplies, and labor. As agricultural societies grew, they developed complex infrastructures such as irrigation systems, defensive walls, and trade networks. These advancements required organized labor and strong leadership. Cities became centers of culture, technology, and commerce. Writing systems emerged to record trade, laws, and historical events, preserving knowledge across generations. However, the rise of civilization also led to conflict. Competition for fertile land, water, and resources sparked wars between neighboring societies. Armies formed, and warfare became a recurring part of human history. Unlike hunter-gatherer disputes, these conflicts involved organized strategies and large-scale destruction. The relationship between humans and nature changed dramatically during this period. Instead of adapting to natural environments, humans began reshaping landscapes through farming, deforestation, and urban development. Rivers were redirected, forests cleared, and ecosystems transformed to support growing populations and expanding cities. Over thousands of years, agricultural societies evolved into advanced civilizations that built empires and global trade systems. Technological innovations accelerated human development, leading to industrialization and modern urbanization. While these changes improved productivity and technological progress, they also increased environmental pressure and social inequality. Today, humanity continues to experience the consequences of this ancient transformation. Modern societies depend heavily on agriculture, industry, and technology to sustain billions of people. Yet, the legacy of our hunter-gatherer past remains visible in our biology, social behavior, and deep connection to nature. Understanding this historical transition helps explain both the achievements and challenges facing humanity in the modern world.